Changing jobs is one of the more risky things you can do in your career. There is absolutely risk anytime you make a move from one employer to the next. Now, oftentimes it's worth it, but it is also worth mitigating the risk. In today's video, we're going to talk about 3 things that you absolutely need to do to make sure that you are lowering the risk when you are changing jobs. Make sure you watch to the end because every single one of these is absolutely critical. Let's go. Now, the first thing I would recommend any job seeker do if they want to lower the risk when it comes to changing jobs is make sure they are 100% ready to leave their job. What do I mean by this? Well, I have seen many a candidate accept a counteroffer, and that's because they weren't truly ready to leave. Maybe they're a bit disgruntled, but they haven't worked through all the issues. They hadn't thought it through. And what happens is they go out, they interview, they get a job offer, then they go to their employer who tries to make it worth their while to stay. The reality is about 90% of candidates within 12 months who accept a counteroffer end up leaving that employer anyway. And it is a huge hassle, it is stressful, and ultimately it can be really damaging to your career to go through that situation. So the first thing I would do when it comes to reducing risk is make sure you are truly ready to leave. If you are unhappy with something in your current role, with your current boss, about growth or whatever, talk to them. Have a conversation and make sure that you can't fix the situation you are already in. If you end up leaving a company because there was a small thing that might have been fixed, it's a bit of a waste. So have the conversation with your boss. Let them know if there are things that you'd like changed or issues you'd like addressing. And then if they don't do it there, and then you give your notice a little bit later after getting an offer, and then they come back to you and they try to give you a counteroffer and they talk about fixing the thing, well, then you know it was never about you, it's about them. It wasn't about fixing the thing because you're unhappy, it's about them and them having to replace you now that you're willing to leave. So the first thing I'd recommend doing is actually sorting through any issues you have and make sure you are ready to make a leave. The last thing you want to do is get a job offer with a great company, but then go, I'm not sure I actually want to leave. So make sure you write a pros and cons list, you think about it, and when you're ready to leave, make sure you are sure you're ready to leave. Before you ever accept a role with a company, you have to do a little bit of research on the organization and making sure it is a good decision. Now, you want to prepare so that you can go in and do a great job in your interview, but you also need to make sure it's a place you want to be. There are 2 non-negotiables for me. 2 things you have to do when you're doing research on a company. You have to go to Glassdoor, and you need to read that. What is their score? Is it a 3.2? Is it a 4.9? Is it a 1.7? Right? That matters. And then you need to read the reviews. If there are 1 or 2 bad reviews, that could just be disgruntled people. I mean, there are people who don't like pizza, right? That happens. But if there are a litany of bad reviews and people talking about bad management, bad leadership, bad compensation, bad company culture, you need to put some stock in that. Not 1 or 2, but if you notice patterns, that's an issue. The other things that you have to do is you have to do research on the company's financials. Now, if this is a public company, it is really easy. Go to Yahoo Finance and just take a few minutes reading up about the organization. If they are private, it's a little bit more complicated, but not impossible. Just go to Google, type in the company name, press enter. Then go to articles or news and read about them. Read about recent headlines. Are they closing facilities? Are they opening facilities? Have they acquired another business? Acquiring a business? Good. Closing a facility? Bad. The last thing you want to do is make a move to an organization only to find out that it's not stable and now you're last in, first out, first on the chopping block if tough decisions have to be made. So again, company research, critical. My 2 non-negotiables, go to Glassdoor, read about the organization, do a little bit of homework on their financials. Now, the third thing that I need you to do when it comes to mitigating risk in your job search is I need you to talk to your references. Okay, so a lot of companies are going to have you give them references when it's time for an offer, right? And they're going to say, hey, send us 3 references. And a lot of people just send over 3 references. There are people they've worked with in the past. And I gotta say, I've done a ton of these as a recruiter. Very rarely, although it does happen, do people send, they send those references. I have a conversation, they go, yeah, that was a bad candidate. That was a bad employee. I wouldn't hire them again. It's happened, but it doesn't happen that often. But what happens a lot is you have people who are unenthusiastic. Oh yeah, no, I worked with him and he was a good employee. Oh yeah, she was on my team a year ago. I don't have anything to say, right? That actually does happen. That happens a lot. Those are unenthused references, and they can be really damaging to your candidacy because when they are doing reference checks on you, they might also be doing reference checks on another candidate who is your competition for the offer. So you want to make sure that if it comes down to, okay, we like both these candidates, let's do reference checks and see who comes back stronger, that yours is the stronger one. And how do you do that? You reach out to the people who you list as references. Before you have them do a reference, give them a call and say, hey, I want to thank you again for letting me put you down as a reference for this job opportunity. I feel like I'm a really great fit for the job. In the job description, they're going to have me doing A, B, and C, and those are the things that I love doing and I feel I'm great at. I'm really interested in this job. Now, why do you want to do that? Because you're basically brushing them up on why you'd be a good fit and you're letting them know it's important to you. If you tell someone who's worked with you in the past, I really want this job, they have to be like a bad person or literally not like you to not give you a good reference, right? If someone called me and said, Ben, I really want this job, it's so key for me right now, this would make a huge difference for me and my family, I would have a harder time giving them a bad reference because I'm a human and other humans will also be like this. So another important thing to reducing risk as a candidate is make sure that if you're gonna give companies your references, that you call your references and let them know you're super interested in the role, you feel like you'd be a great fit because of A, B, and C reasons, you're thankful for them for doing it, and this job is really important to you and you'd really love to get it. Those things will make sure that you get really strong references because, believe it or not, that is often used as a tiebreaker. If you're watching this video, you're probably in the middle of a job search. And good luck, I hope things are going great. But I also know it is stressful. So that's why I made this video here. These are ways you can reduce the chances of you getting burnout as a job seeker. Being a job seeker is hard. Interviewing is hard. So you need to create a system to make sure that you're up to your best work and you're not getting stressed out and burnt out, which is why I made this. So I am done here, but I will see you over there.